We have somewhat of a full agenda this morning. If you actually take a look at it, you're not going to get my standard introduction this morning. We actually have a special guest speaker that is going to take a stand here in a few minutes. Now, before we do get started, I would be almost remiss in saying, you know what, it is the holidays. And if I did not acknowledge what happened in Newtown, Connecticut this Friday, right. So normally, you know, back in my church days, I would stand up with a minister of some sort and we'd all bow our heads and whisper and hope. We don't do that, but we will take a minute to acknowledge and reflect the fact that we're still here, and especially as parents, remember how precious life is because it can be snubbed. And we're reminded this all the time. Every time that there's a tragedy, we're reminded of such. So, all right, with that, I hear jingling. I hear jingling. All right, with that, the man who needs no introduction.
Welcome to the Fellowship of Freethought. We're really glad you're here this morning. Can I find out who's here for the first time today? All right. And anybody here for the second time? Very good. Well, we hope that you'll join us as time goes by here. As Alex mentioned this morning, we're going to be talking a little bit about the ways freethinkers deal with Christmas, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or whatever other form of supernatural hoopla your friends and family engage in at this time of year. Now, as a Santa, this freethinker has some special considerations with the supernatural mythology at this time of year. Sometimes he deals with those issues by reminding himself that, after all, he's just a paid actor. And what he says and does shouldn't really be taken any more seriously than, say, if he were an actor on the stage, which of course he is. And yet, there is a difference. You know, actors rarely descend from the stage and hold little children on their laps and tell them about flying sleighs and Rudolph and flying reindeer and all those things. Not as a story, but as the truth. You know what? Santa lies to kids. But I think there's also another side to the Santa thing. You know, over the years, this Santa has come to realize that for a lot of people, the whole Santa thing is a non-religious alternative to the religious aspects of the season. Santa kind of provides a way for parents who really aren't that big on the supernatural to have a lot of fun with their kids without being dragged into a lot of religious dogma. I once told a deeply religious friend of mine that I thought Santa was mostly an alternative to the religious aspects of Christmas, and of course, he kind of disagreed with that. After all, he said, why would Santa come on Christmas Day if he's not a Christian figure? Thought about that for a minute. And then I asked him, well, if you wanted to have an alternative to Christmas, what day would you have it on? Now, as a Santa impersonator, I frequently do say, Merry Christmas! Now, some of my freethinkers ask me if that doesn't bother me just a little bit. They ask me, they say, wouldn't it be better to say Happy Holidays? But you know, the word holiday is just short for holy day. Is Happy Holy Days better than Merry Christmas? I've thought about this quite a bit, and I've come to realize that a number of words we use every day have religious origins. For example, the word goodbye. That's just short for God be with ye. I don't hear any freethinkers running around saying, oh, we shouldn't say goodbye. And then there's the names of the days of the week and the names of the months. All those have religious origins. I kind of live for the day when Merry Christmas will mean nothing more than have a nice day. And this Santa has said that so many times that that's what it means to him. Now, this Santa mostly does events like country clubs and corporate parties. A couple of years ago, I was seated in a great big ornate chair having pictures taken with the kids, and I noticed one little girl was kind of coming up close and then shying back. One of the times when she got close, I said, would you like to come and have your picture taken with Santa? Boy, at that very minute, her father dashed out of the crowd and grabbed her with a horrified look in his eye. And he kind of looked at me as he walked away and he said, I'm sorry, we're Jewish. Part of me wanted to say, I'm sorry you're religious too. Part of me wanted to say, yeah, that's okay, I'm an atheist. But then I remembered I was being paid as an actor and I did have the red suit on. And that I had to put my personal feelings and opinions aside for right now anyway. You might be surprised how many times I'm just sitting in a restaurant in my street clothes, minding my own business, eating my meal, and somebody will come up and say, oh, I'll bet you are Santa Claus. I normally answer by saying, yes, I am a professional Santa. Then, often as not, they'll respond with something like, oh, bless you, you're doing the Lord's work. Now, at that point, I kind of got to make a decision, you know? Do I want to engage in a prolonged discussion that probably won't change anybody's mind anyway? Or do I want to finish my meal? Normally, the decision is just to say, well, thank you, and continue eating. You know, you got to kind of pick your battles. Now, sometimes I wait in the back of the room, in a back office, until I hear everybody singing, here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus. And then I do a grand entrance, you know, with bells ringing and everything. I was at one event like that, and I found myself waiting in the back room with a young lady dressed up as an elf. She had a big old green stocking hat on, and a green Santa outfit, and big old shoes with a curl back front. While we waited, we had a couple minutes to talk. Now, this being Texas, even before she asked my name, she asked me what church I go to. Now, I've always thought that was kind of a personal question, you know. It's right up there with, how many times have you had sex this week? But she seemed to be genuinely interested, so I told her, well, I'm a freethinker and I don't much go to church. She looked a little shocked, and she said, so you don't believe in God? I tried to be as non-committal as possible, but I just didn't feel like lying right then. So I said, yeah, you could say that. At that moment, we heard our song, so we burst out into the crowd and did our things. Now, the office manager at this company had been the person who hired me. And what I didn't know was that he was deeply religious. I also didn't know that the elf was his secretary. Yeah, you see it coming, right? At the conclusion of the event, I approached him to thank him for hiring me. He glowered at me and he said, well, I sure didn't know I was hiring an atheist Santa Claus. Who ever heard of an atheist Santa anyway? I want you to know that we'll be going back over all the pictures to see if you molested any of the kids. You really did. And we'll probably talk to some of the parents too. I may even withhold payment. That was about as much as I was willing to take. I looked him squarely in the eye and reminded him that I'd been thoroughly background checked by several different organizations over several years. I also told him that I took defamation of character very seriously, and that if he wanted a lawsuit, I could probably arrange one because I had a $1 million liability policy with a company that had some really nasty lawyers. He backed off a little bit, but not much. I'm sure all of you have dealt with this type of person. You know, you're an atheist and you eat babies. That's all there is to it. The next day, my agent called and said, "What happened?" She also was quite appalled that she'd booked an atheist Santa. But she wasn't about to let the guy give her a lot of trouble. Needless to say, I felt a lot of stress over the next few weeks as I contemplated being tied up with legal proceedings and possibly even having to defend myself from criminal charges. All of a sudden, this being Santa thing wasn't so much fun anymore. Never mind that I was totally innocent. In Santa school, they taught me to always wear white gloves and to always keep my hands visible, especially in the pictures. I did that religiously, and I was careful not to even give the appearance of any impropriety. But even after I won, as I surely would, there would still be a stigma hanging over me, especially if the newspapers got wind of it. You know, an atheist Santa being questioned about child molestation? Now, that'd be a big story. Might even make Bill O'Reilly. My career as Santa would be over. As far as I know, the guy never talked with any of the parents, and eventually he did pay my agent, and my agent did eventually pay me. But needless to say, that agency will never book me again, and that company will never book that agency. And, you know, just accusations like that are so damaging. I've even had people, after I tell them that, they say, "Well, you must have been doing something." Yeah, I was being an atheist. So when non-believers have some trepidation about coming out, I definitely understand where they're coming from. In fact, it occurs to me that I may be damaging my Santa career right now by standing up here in my Santa suit in front of a video camera and talking about my non-belief. But I'm retired. I don't have employees watching my every move. I don't have any clients to worry about offending. I don't have a boss to appease. So I feel a little bit freer to speak my mind. In fact, I'm coming to the conclusion that older people are not really eccentric. They simply feel free to finally be able to say what's been on their mind their whole lives anyway. So that's Santa's story. But before we hear from some other folks, let's have Santa give you a great big ho, 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 season's greetings, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and dare I say it, Merry Christmas. In other words, have a happy day. Thank you.
Okay, guys, recently I put a call out to hear some personal Christmas stories from people because I think in the past, in the last few years, we've heard from some different people and their experience with a secular Christmas. I did hear back from several people, and I wanted for them to have a chance to come up and share a bit of their secular Christmas stories. So we're going to start with Tammy Walker.
Thank you. A couple of years ago, some of you might have been at this talk, Julian Baggini, the author of Atheism, A Very Short Introduction, gave a talk at SMU in which he made the point that we freethinkers should take the best of religious practice and incorporate it into our lives. For example, taking time to be grateful for what we have, or giving back through community service, or having gatherings as we're having today. I love to talk with the question, what should I take from my religious experience? What should I take from the church that I grew up in? I've never been one to want to salvage much from my religious past, something I'm sure a lot of you can understand. But there are good things that come from religion, which raises a dilemma. So for a long time, that question bothered me. I was raised Baptist, and we didn't exactly have a whole lot of trappings that other denominations and religions have. And I certainly didn't want to involve sitting in a pew, listening to threats of fire and brimstone, and having random bouts of guilt in my life. I tried to push the question out of my mind, but it kept nagging at me. When a question bothers you, it probably means there's something to it. Organizing Women of Reason Dallas was one answer, as I'd seen a lot of good come from women's groups at churches. We support each other, and we've brought new members to the group. Another answer is appropriating the December holiday, which is only fair since Christians appropriated it from the pagans, right? So Justin and I put up a tree, which we decorate with what we call Darwin finches. We hang white twinkly lights and shiny gold ornaments. We exchange gifts wrapped in seasonal paper and bows with family and friends. And we send Christmas cards. Wait, Christmas cards? The thing that we're trying not to do is keep Christ in Christmas, right? So that we don't get caught up in terminology, I'm going to call them seasonal greeting cards, or just cards for short. A little history here. Christmas cards were first sent in Britain in the 1840s. Printers created the cards with festive images for those who didn't have time to write all the Christmas letters to everyone on their Christmas letter list. So the Christmas cards, like the Christmas tree, came out in the Victoria era and have remained popular ever since. Sending cards is something I've done my entire adult life, and it's a tradition that my sister's parents and grandparents continue. I started sending out cards right around the time that I lost faith, when I was a teenager, actually. And over the years, it's actually become a lot easier to find cards that don't say Merry Christmas or Christ is born, or that feature a nativity scene done up with foil-winged angels flying over a pop-out Jesus, sleeping peacefully in his glitter-adorned manger, surrounded by flocked donkeys. Yes, I have seen that card. By sending cards with snowflakes and season's greetings, I can feel like I'm participating in the tradition without feeling like I'm participating too directly in the religious aspects of the holiday. And if you want to go a little subversive, there's always the Happy Monkey and the Merry Squidmas cards in the Fringula store, and the many, many internet memes that have been turned into Christmas cards this year. So unlike other traditions linked to Christmas, like songs or angelic lights or Christmas pageants that involve a slightly nervous-looking teenage girl, a pillow stuffed under her blue bedsheet Mary costume, riding on a donkey that gets a bit spooked by the scads of kids dressed up as sheep running off their candy cane-induced sugar rushes, Christmas cards are a little easier to appropriate. It's useful to step back and look at the purpose of the tradition when deciding whether or not to continue it. Why do we send out cards this time of year? To remind distant friends and family that we're thinking about them. We send them to give something of ourselves, our written seasonal greetings, to those in our communities who we appreciate and want to stay connected to. The act of writing season's greetings, or in cases of cards for Christian friends and family who do celebrate for reasons, Merry Christmas, on a card is something we can do to build community. This season, I've written cards that wish the recipients happy holidays and Merry Christmas, but most often just Happy New Year, as the case warrants. Seasonal greeting cards give us the chance to say, in whatever way seems best for the writer and for the receiver, I'm thinking about you and hoping that you're well and happy and enjoying this festive time of year. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite Brad Watson.
Good morning. I was made really happy when Jamie approached me to speak to you all today about how my atheist wife and I celebrate this time of year. Maybe I'll meet others today, but we're the only freethinkers of whom I know that make a fair amount of effort to symbolically celebrate the winter solstice as something distinct from and on equal par with Christmas. Much of it centers around the solstice tree, so let's start there. For several reasons, we have an artificial tree instead of a real one, but the primary reason is because we don't just decorate it once and then leave it alone. It's important to our solstice ritual that our tree changes as the season progresses, and we need an artificial tree to allow for the length of time that we have it up. Our tree always goes up a week before Thanksgiving, no exceptions, but it's not so as to run roughshod over that harvest time celebration. Instead, by the manner of our tree decorating, we feel we give it more respect than our culture currently seems to give it. For the entire week of Thanksgiving, the color scheme is primarily orange. We searched far and wide, but we actually found orange ball ornaments, and those go on the tree first. For us, they're miniature representations of the sun, no longer a summer yellow. The days are shortening, things are getting cooler. The proper color is orange. There's gourds, wheat stalks, raffia bows, other autumn things on the tree, but it's the orange sunballs that's the most important. Okay, so Thanksgiving week is over, and for the rest of November and for most of the month of December, the tree continues to change. We start by removing all the harvest ornaments, then the rest of the work is all done gradually, a little bit each day, so that the task is not too great, and so the passage of time symbolism is more strongly felt. Each day we spend 5 minutes. An orange ball or two is changed out for one that is purple, silver, or by one of these nice ones we found that are harlequin patterned black and white. The idea is that the colors are getting darker and cooler and more symbolic of the mysterious night. The change on the tree mimics the shortening days outside. By the solstice's eve, the last of the orange balls have been replaced. To the tree changing ritual, each day we always add this. One of us will read a very condensed history of the life of some important historical astronomer, or just some really interesting astronomical fact. Copernicus and his comprehensive heliocentric cosmology is usually saved for 2 days before the solstice. On the winter solstice's eve is read the reason we have seasons at all. Then on the solstice day itself is read the specific facts about the winter solstice proper. On the day after the winter solstice, on the day of the winter solstice, we light lots of candles in the house and change the tree significantly. All the cool colored ornaments are removed and replaced by gold. Everything is gold and bright. All the balls, those symbolic sun balls, the tinsel and other ornaments are gold. The sun has been reborn. Also on solstice day, we always make and eat Bienenstich cake. Bienenstich, or bee sting cake, is a German torte cake, often made in a circular shaped pan. It's topped with honey and almond slivers, which give the cake a nice golden color. The shape and the color of the cake are again symbolic of the newborn sun. We each open one gift, and we know easily which is our solstice gift because it's the one that's wrapped in gold paper. If the winter solstice were not usually also on a work day, we'd surely do even more than we already do. From solstice day to Christmas day, sure, we'll start adding more red and green, holly, red birds, and whatnot, the traditional colors of Christmas, but the tree stays primarily gold, and no red or green ornamentation is allowed on the tree until the day after the solstice. And that's what my family does. And it's really cool. Or it would be really cool if any of this story were true. The truth is that almost none of this story is true. I confess that my wife and I are lazy freethinkers. We half-assedly get a Christmas red and green tree up during the Thanksgiving break. We play annoyingly jazzed up Christmas music during the decorating. There are no special cosmological related readings and no Bienenstich cake. We get the tree done, hang some stockings, and then it's right back to Facebook posting or watching The Walking Dead. Yeah, there is no, well, let's see, where was I? There's usually no gift exchange between my wife and me because we've usually already made some expensive purchase during the year that we just call our solstice gift to each other, even if it happened in July. What can I say? We're crusty middle-agers who were raised in a Christmas-centered culture, and that's what we do. But that wouldn't have made for a very good presentation today, would it? To our credit, we have started having our young son open one gift on the day of the solstice. He's just 2, so he's still clueless about there being anything unique about this time of year. But by this time next year, he will be old enough to start to understand. So I'm beginning to think now about what we owe him as a spiritual being. What would it be like for our son if we started doing all the solstice rituals I easily imagined, or some entirely different ones? I think he'd love it. The time for teaching him the hard truth about successfully navigating in a world that is sometimes indifferent or even cruel will be here soon enough. I think he deserves some innocent childhood magic. And I think my wife and I need to start reclaiming it more for ourselves. Thank you.
All right, next, I'd like to invite John Panzer.
Well, thank you for that, Brad. You made it completely impossible to follow. I don't have the comedy written that he presented, so. Good morning. In his book, The God Virus, Darrell Ray describes the effects of religion on humans by analogy to the effects of biological viruses on humans and other life. My own knowledge base for assessing this book is not from biology, and I'll refrain from making too many comments about biology because of that. But my base for assessment of the book is from my own experience of the Christian religion, from my earliest memories until my deconversion in the first half of 2003. One of the interesting things, though, mostly I learned from Darrell, about the biological viruses is that they have different ways of maintaining their survival. Some hosts they kill. With others, they develop beneficial symbiotic relationships, and some they use merely as a means of transport for a little while. And this is the same way with ideas like the Christian religion. This phrase has many shades of meaning, as the abundance of different Christian churches in the Metroplex will witness. In my own case, it meant most of a childhood knowing about Christmas, but not celebrating it. Some Christian groups don't celebrate Christmas. My parents were both Christians, my mother from Christian parents, and my father a convert as a young adult. My earliest memories of Christmas with them include a homemade manger with a doll in it for the baby Jesus. I don't think we had a tree, but my memory of that time is limited, and I can't say for sure. In any case, by that time, my parents were peripherally involved with a small Christian community in New Hampshire. They would soon be much more involved. The community operated their own school for children of families in the group, and I attended that school from first grade until spring break of my junior year of high school. In all that time, the community never participated in any of the traditional activities of the Christmas season. The school was a boarding school, and our winter vacation fell generally on the weeks of Christmas and New Year's. My mother's parents would send a package from their home in England every year, and my brothers and I looked forward to presents on Christmas morning because of that. The present was often a sweater our grandmother had knit and some Cadbury Smarties. Mom would get a Cadbury chocolate bar, and she always shared it with us, which in retrospect I find incredibly amazing. But that was the beginning of my appreciation for English chocolate. The community became a cult. Well, in reality, I guess it was already a cult by the time my family became attached to it. Somehow, mostly by expulsion, my parents, my 4 younger brothers, and I all escaped its gravity as a family, intact. As we moved away from the isolation of that experience into interaction with the wider culture, we began to adopt more of the accepted Christmas practices. However, it was some time before a tree showed up in our house. I think it was a few years after my father passed away, when I was 22 and my youngest brother was just 10. Years passed and I got married. My wife, the daughter of another English mother and American father, was raised in England and attended English schools for much of her education. There, hymns and prayer during daily assembly were included as part of the school experience. But these were only mildly religious and constituted the extent of her religious instruction. She grew up with a Christmas tree and the usual decorations, but no specific religious content. No emphasis on the birth of Jesus or God's gift to the world. A convert to a Pentecostal brand of Christianity as an adult, Karen's experience of Christmas was not abrogated by Christianity, but was imbued with new religious meaning. When we met, we were both in the habit of decorating trees at Christmas and exchanging gifts. Both of us had religious ideas about the holiday. Mine tended to blunt the commercial aspects of the holidays. I don't think hers added anything to the enjoyment of lights and decorations and gifts. Karen deconverted before I did, though I claimed the atheist label sooner. But by the time of our exit from Christianity, we had 2 children together, Julia and Chris, whom some of you have met. Both consider themselves atheists now, and both eagerly await Christmas morning for the presents. Julia can be effusive about her enjoyment of this time of year. And who can blame her? It's cold and dark at night. But all around the neighborhoods, beautiful lights twinkle in a variety of colors, inviting the gaze of passers-by. There is an air, even if manufactured for commercial reasons, of friendliness, of goodwill, that one does not feel in the bleaker months of January and February, when it's still cold and dark at night, but the lights have all been shut off and all the decorations have been put away. So my view is this: Christmas, as we know it, is as much a cultural event as a religious celebration, perhaps even more so. And as such, I have no problem enjoying the season as an atheist. It's not about Jesus for me or for my family. It's about, by parts, gifts, both given and received, a time to thank customers for being customers, enjoying time with extended family, if possible. For some it's not, but if for you it is possible, and good, I hope it is. Distance and circumstances make family reunions on my side impossible in our case, and avoids any of the religious conflicts that could be encountered by being the lone atheist in my family. So, from that point of view, this atheist would like to wish all of you, very uncynically, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and season's greetings.
Thank you very much. By a show of hands, I'm just curious, how many of you actually still get to celebrate Christmas or solstice with religious family? Oh, good. Good portion. Interesting. All right, next we have White Christmas.
Oh, and for this one, this is kind of a visual performance as well, because Kathleen here is going to sing in American Sign Language.
Okay, as I said earlier, I put a call out for people to come and share their personal relationships or personal stories about Christmas. And earlier last week, Santa Dawn contacted me and said, I just went to this group called the Freedom from Religion, and they had some people speaking there that had very compelling stories to share. And I was wondering if you could find some time to fit them into the program. And so we are very lucky to have two visitors from the Freedom from Religion Foundation, Andrea Skill and Tom Walters. And Tom is going to start off by sharing his story with us today.
This is not easy for me, so don't take this personal. I'm nervous, but I have no problem imagining that you're all very wonderful people. But I joined the Freedom from Religion group because I don't get to enjoy this season, and I don't really want to be the bad part of your Christmas gathering. But I come from one of those families that you may occasionally read about. I ran away the first time at 5 years old. I didn't get very far. I was in a Studebaker pedal car. I was smart enough to take I'm the oldest of four, and I was smart enough to take my next nearest younger sister with me, I think because I wanted the pedal power. We were gone about 6 hours, and it's a very memorable part of my early years. It was about 3 months after my first violent exorcism. I was the one being violent, by the way. So they had this method they had employed a lot in my extended family where they roll you up in blankets to try and control you. I was brought back from my first running away and severely punished. The good part was they didn't check the trunk of the pedal car where I'd put our supplies, which was a big bag of Oreos. And after that, I tried to console my sister by sharing those with her over the next few days, and she remembers the Oreos, and I'm glad that's the only part she remembers. Christmas to me is a lot of Christmas to me is a lot of memories about not feeling like there's any hope for the future at all. I had to struggle with suicide thoughts all through my early childhood, and there was recurring exorcisms. I was raised in church schools, so I was in church 6 days a week, pretty much until I was 14. My parents ran out of money to put us in church schools. About that time, there's 4 of us, and my dad was a welder at the shipyard, and they followed the, I guess, cliche of education and religiosity. My father dropped out of school in 3rd grade and fed farm animals, and my mom dropped out of school in 5th grade. And luckily, because of my intention to be the opposite of anything they were, I intended to be educated, but one of the problems with that was that our family isolated us from non-religious people. Pretty much all I had access to book-wise before Al Gore invented the internet was the religious books in the church schools that we went to Monday through Friday. We had a 30-minute church class or 40-minute church class in some of the schools. And we had pretty much like what you would call a Sunday sermon at all the church schools. That was part of the regular school day. And I remember, because these were Pentecostals, they do the speaking in tongues. I have a lot of early memories of the church floor covered with screaming and babbling and drooling people. My mom come home with bruises because they were filled with the Spirit, and they grab each other. And I wished I had the words then, because to me it was a holy mosh pit. And she was proud of her bruises. I got a bloody nose once where an old woman named Miss Stoneman, filled with the Holy Spirit, I was standing next to her, and I was so small that when I was standing, my nose was about the height of the pew in front of me. And filled with the Holy Spirit, she was shaking my head and bumped my nose against the pew I was standing behind. And I remember my mom not wanting me to wipe the blood off because these marks were something to be proud of. I went to my first public school in 8th grade. I guess that would make me about 14. And I remember the first time I walked into a library that was not primarily filled with religious books. I felt like Johnny Five in that movie, Short Circuit. I just wanted to tear through all those books, and I've read voraciously ever since, and I think that's been my real salvation. And in trying to be the opposite of everything I think my parents were as far as ignorance and against any form of education that was non-religious, I today have a lot of hobbies that involve reading. I'm an insomniac. I have sleep disorders. I generally hide from Christmas. This is my first outing in my adult life at Christmas. It's not easy for me to hear the songs, and it's nice to see your faces and hear you laugh. I really appreciate that. And I collect stories about children who are killed by exorcisms, and there are very, very many of them. You can still see witches dragged from their homes in Haiti in 2012 and burned in front of their own front yards. I think that the most important thing I like to try and impart upon the non-religious, the non-theist, is that the passivity and the attitude of it being benign on both parts of this fence, on our side and the religious people's side, really fertilizes the soil this evil grows in. And I like to, whenever possible, impart upon people the importance of what this does to children and what the concept, the basic ability to believe in an invisible magical being that's going to grant you things or save you from something. We don't often think, I think, enough about how this turns people into me. And that's more of a campaign of mine, and I'm glad that most of you don't know what I'm talking about. But Christmas to me is something I want to change. I want to laugh like you guys, and I want to appreciate the gathering more. I don't have a family. They all carry Bibles. They've had nothing to do with me since I turned 18. But this is a turning point, and I want to be a part of what you guys have, what I think you have. Thanks for your time. If anybody wants to email me, I'm looking for people, not like me, to talk about religion and Christmas and religion and its effect on children. I want to come up with ideas to work on some blogs and things that I want to create as part of something I think I need to do. So I would like to offer, if anyone's interested, and I know this is not the cheery thing, but I'm from the Freedom from the Recovery from Religion group, so what you expect, right? But anyway, I'd like to find some people in a group like this that can help me come up with new perspectives and new ideas. So I would like to hang around a little while longer after it's over, and I would really appreciate to be able to communicate with some of you more, because I've been a hermit too long, and I need to get over this. And thank you.
That is what we are here for. So please feel welcome. All right, next we have Andrea Skill.
Good morning. First, I'd like to say thanks for inviting me up here. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It has been many years since I've been up this early on a Sunday. So, I grew up in a family that was Christian Science. I don't know how familiar you are with that religion. My parents weren't the extremists. They were kind of just looking for something to raise me and my brother with. And Christian Science seemed to be the kind of the tamest version that they could raise us in. And my brother and I grew up believing in Santa. I found out that Santa wasn't real at about 6. And when I found out I wasn't angry about it, I actually enjoyed the idea and the experience of Christmas with the idea that there was magic. And instead of telling my brother that Santa wasn't real, I helped him prepare for Santa to come by putting pillows in the fireplace so that Santa would land softly. And I helped him bake cookies because I wanted to carry that on for him as well. So growing up, Christmas it wasn't a religious thing for us. It was a time for the family to get together and really appreciate each other. And I've heard lots of stories from people about their other experiences and how religious it has been and how focused on this idea of somebody who died for your sins that you hadn't even committed at that point in time. And I never understood it. And it was really in college when I accepted my understanding that there wasn't, that religion was kind of just a way that people cope with the idea of life ending. And I just appreciated what my parents have given to me and my brother, the freedom to believe. When I told them that I was atheist, they weren't upset, they weren't shocked. My dad shrugged his shoulders and said, "Okay, well, that's cool." And I never faced what a lot of you must have faced when you came out to your parents, and so I'm very appreciative of that. I'm looking forward to Christmas this year. Christmas is my brother's coming back from college. I'll have time to see him, and we'll be able to share stories throughout the year and really show each other our appreciation for this time that we have together. And I hope that most of you have the ability to do that with your family. So happy holidays, and Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, and Happy New Year.
More music. have the children coming in a second. Any second now. Snowflakes. Are those snowflakes? Snowflakes. Is that like a ninja star snowflake? Looks deadly. Spinners. Oh, cool. Cool. I want to see it. Evolution of a spinner.
No one told me. Y'all are running on time today. This isn't supposed to happen. I'm not prepared.
We're not on time. We're just not as late.
Okay. All right, I'll go ahead.
You want to start? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Dawn talked to the kids about the moon phases. They actually went in the men's bathroom to turn all the lights out and held styrofoam balls up to see all the different phases of the moon. And then after that, we had time to make a Christmas tree. Sylvia made a Christmas tree out of a magazine. It's a great way to recycle your magazines. You can have them up for Christmas, and when Christmas is over, you can toss them in the recycling. Did a very nice job there. And then the rest of us had an adventure making these what I thought were easy snowflakes, but they weren't quite as easy as it turned out. But they all did a fantastic job. Yeah, and then Chris had a great idea to turn it into a spinner at the bottom, and I think it works well, and I think you should try it. But there we go. That did work. It worked great. Okay. Well, like you said, it was your first design, and so that was your first run through, and you'll do better next time. Alrighty, and that's it.
And we actually did not have any of the 3 to 6 year old kids here this month. I guess they're at home busy sleeping in or eating cookies or something. Emily, did you want to say anything about what the teens have done lately? Okay. Yeah, the teens are busy. They're too cool to come in here with us. Okay, I just want to do a little something. Let's see. Can I have a hand? Okay, it's about, last month was about being thankful. This month is about giving. Without our teachers here, these kids would have nothing to do. They would be in the gym, or you wouldn't be here because you wouldn't have anything for your kids to do. We have people that are here every single month in the classroom, never in the gathering, unless the 3 to 6 year old age group doesn't show up and I have to push him in here and push him out of my classroom to come in here and enjoy the gathering. So I really want to give them thanks today, because without them, we wouldn't have all these kids here. We have 4 classrooms of kids, guys, and 2 teachers in each classroom and guest teachers in each classroom, and then preparing curriculum and thinking of things to do and keeping little ones busy whenever all they want to do is play, making sure that there's something that's engaging to them and fun for them instead of just sitting and listening to someone talk. So let's see who all is here today. And we also have guest teachers. Let's see, this is yours. Okay, is Sabrina Parker here today? She was one of our guest teachers during the year. Okay, so we'll hold that. Emily Morris. Thank you. And you can go back with your kids. Oh, you okay? Is Stan here today? Stan was one of our guest teachers, came in and taught the kids. Thank you very much. Zach, among the many other things he does, he came in and taught the kids as well. And Elaine is one of our main teachers. She is in the classroom with the kids every single month. She is preparing some type of curriculum every single month and always has fun and interesting things for the kids to do. Thank you. Steve in here? Morris? Where'd he go? Okay, I'll pass that along to him. John Pantser. He's in here. He has helped with the kids and has volunteered to help again in the future with the kids. And we have Dawn Donatali, helped with the kids today. I won't tell anyone that he took them in a dark men's restroom. And Anne has been here with our 3 to 6-year-old class, along with Jason, helping out with those. Nope. Where's Jason's? Okay. And Jason. He is with our Rugrats all the time, and I think it was a couple of months ago he was here teaching and found on his Facebook page, like a few days later, that he was in severe pain due to something he had to go to the hospital about, and no one knew about it the day he was here. So he is here all the time, just doing whatever. He doesn't know how to say no. He really needs to learn just like I do. Maybe we can teach each other sometime, but he's here all the time. And then there are a few people that aren't here. Dolan is not here yet, but he also taught the kids as well. Shannon Croft is here with the kids quite a bit, and Jay is another one of the main teachers that couldn't be here today. So speaking of that, we have a new year of teachers, and like I said, last month we talked about being thankful. I'm sure everyone is thankful for what FOF has to offer. And I'm going to go on my little spiel now. But this month is about giving. I want everyone to really think, what have you given to our organization in the last year, whether it be 5 minutes or 5 hours? Everyone, or not everyone, has money to give. That's just, not everyone can. But everyone has time to give. Have you come 20 minutes early to help us set up? Have you stayed after the potluck to help us clean up? Whoever is here at the end is who's cleaning up. Have you went and helped the roadside, clean up the roadside? Just everyone has time. I just ask everyone, if everyone volunteered for one thing that's in this room in the next year, whether it's only for 30 minutes, we wouldn't have to stand up here asking for more help. Our organization is only here because of you, and it's here for you. So please think about giving something in the next year. Thank you.
Okay, we're good? All right. All right, so it's every year we really try and appreciate our members. Usually it is a volunteering award, volunteer of the year, etc. This year we've come up with a new one. It is the Face of Freethought, and we tried to find, she's the next one. We've tried to find a person that we feel embodies the organization. And of course, it is about education, it is about charity, it is about outreach, it is about connecting. And we have one person that when the board sat around and started to talk about this, name just came out. It just flew out, and it was very easy to kind of pick this person out. And I won. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and announce the Face of Freethought for 2012. Jason Holtz. So I'm going to read it. The Face of Freethought awarded to Jason Hollis for continued commitment and dedication to the Freethought community, exemplifying core values in education, charity, fellowship, selflessness, and for being an awesome human being. On this day, December 16th, 2012. Yes, I did that too. You have any words?
I really have no words, honestly.
Good, I got you speechless.
And take note, this is a good first time that he's had me speechless.
He'll get me back on Facebook. So thank you very much. All right. Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Remember, this is a volunteer organization. We're here because of your donations. We are here because of you, for you. With the potluck, please remember that we are green, signified by the green plates. Please don't throw them away. We do take them back, and we do wash them, clean them, etc. So please don't throw away your plates, cups, spoons, utensils, etc. And, Jamie, you want to talk about the gift exchange?
All right, guys, we're actually, because I don't want to keep you here and keep you away from having your lunch, what I'm going to do is we do have the gift and book exchange table in the back. If you have not given Julio your book and or gift, you might want to go back there, give him your book and gift, get a ticket. And for everyone who brought a book or gift, they got a ticket. What we're going to do is once everybody gets their lunch and gets back in here, we're going to start drawing those tickets, and you can go up and take a book or gift of your choice from the table. So we have plenty of books and gifts back there. I appreciate everybody that brought one. Just make sure that you're not taking toys away from Melanie, because the Toys for Tots is separate from our gift exchange. And so if you haven't given your book to Julio, I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to do so, and then we'll bring the tickets up here and start drawing those. So go ahead and get some food, get your gifts to Julio, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes.